Hello, Michelle here. Day 13. Wow. That means tomorrow's the last day. So I hope you've been really enjoying the challenge, and I hope you are finding it a challenge. I know some of you are finding it a big challenge. I've certainly been finding it a challenge, not just making sure that I'm here and presentable every morning at 8 o'clock, but also making sure I get some content out, because it's one thing for me to be saying, go do this, go do that, which I'm great as a coach to do that. I'm not always that good at doing some of it myself. So it's been, don't just do what I say, do what I do as well. So not that I've created as much content as some of you already. So it has been awesome. I'm really rocking it, really enjoying it. Now I've got a bunch of questions here. Once you pop on, it'd be great if you could tell me that you could hear me. I just wanted to make sure that the recording's going okay. I'm sorry, my washing machine's a little noisy in the background. Welcome to the real world. So when you pop on, say hello, please. Leave a comment or something so I know who's here. Hey Gavin, star student. Super busy content creator that you've become. Awesome. All right, so I will... Oh, good, I'm glad you can hear. That's great. Now, I'm just going to run through the questions I have here, and then I have a couple of things that I wanted to say about the challenge going forward and about tomorrow. So, all right. Now, the first question that Gavin has put up for me, I've just got a message I need to get rid of. There we go. Can you please discuss what system you use for storing marketing material for the posts? What do you do to keep track of what's been posted, memes, videos, etc., and what do you do with them, and when you've already used them? I guess that's a question. So basically, for me, I create folders either in Dropbox or in Google Drive. So that depends. If I'm working with a client and I'm working on somebody else's social media things, somebody else's content marketing plan, then I will often use Google Drive. No particular reason. I could still use Dropbox, but so I would have like a file for the business or for the promotion that we're doing, and then inside that you have a different file for the different platforms. Especially if I'm thinking this is going to go for a long time and there's a lot of evergreen content, because the idea for me is to be able to tap back in and grab that content again in 3 months' time, or whatever the cycle is that we've set up. So, I mean, that's how I do it. I just use a bunch of folders inside one of my cloud services. I don't get very complicated about it when I'm sharing it with a client. And I haven't actually done this for myself, but some people, if you want to get sort of super organized, creating a spreadsheet. And so I showed you the calendar that I use with clients, especially to keep things sort of organized. I have a version of that which has approval and things written on it as well. But you can, so when you're trying to keep track of things like the title that you're using, the description, because each time you put up an image, you're not usually just going to put up an image or just a video. You're going to have something around it, some kind of words, not to mention links. So creating a spreadsheet, and usually with spreadsheets, I will use Google Spreadsheets rather than anything on my computer, because it's much easier to work with other people and collaborate. So I would just have a column which says, basically the title. Hi, Frankie. It has the description, and then I can actually put the image into the spreadsheet, or just a link to the image, i.e. the image is living in one of my cloud services somewhere, and I just put a link to it. So that's sort of how I do it. And then if it's an evergreen project, I might put the date that it was actually posted, and then the next date that it's posted, etc., etc. So that's sort of how I do it. I think it's a pretty personal thing, though, how people decide to do that, except that, as you're noticing already, Gavin, after just a week, you need to come up with some kind of system because if you're doing a lot of this kind of creating, then you'll find that you do create a lot of content, which is actually what we want to do, by the way. That is actually a great place to be. Now you just need to work out how you're going to manage it. It could be that you could just have, so you have your business, the current one that you've started, or that website, as a folder, and then inside that you have a folder which is just blog post title. so that each particular blog post has a folder. And then in that, you could either separate it out into the different way you're going, the different content you're providing for the different social media platforms, or you could just put that in the title. So I'm often inclined to, rather than keep going layer upon layer of folders, I might stop at that level of, okay, this is the blog post. There's a folder for that blog post, and inside that folder is all of the text and the images that I've used in all the different social medias, including on the blog post for that particular post. Does that make sense? So I probably wouldn't go any lower than that in the folder structure, just because I'm lazy and it's easier to use in my head, and that's the other thing. It's how we all think is a little different, and what works for me may not work for you, or it might do. So anyway, I hope that answers it to a degree. But yeah, I just use folders and a combination of that and spreadsheets, and it depends if I'm like online. It depends if I'm working with other people and how much collaboration is needed as well. So that's what I do. I would just massage it until you find something that works for you, but don't ignore it, because in a couple of weeks' time, a couple of months, if you've created a couple more blog posts, which you will have done, and then a bunch of content to go with it, you'll suddenly find yourself with all of this stuff, and you won't be able to find anything you really want. So thinking, Simon gets, and a couple of his very techie friends get very particular about naming structure as well. So thinking about how you're actually naming all of those folders. So for example, if you have a blog post like you've created already, you could start a naming structure which starts with 1. You could, where that particular blog post gets the title 1 plus a little bit more descriptor in the title that you call everything that you then post into the folder, so that when you use a search, it will always come up. So if you went 1 something, it would actually come up. Or you could use the date as well. Like I'll often put the date in a name, because then it gives me some other way of giving context around what I've done and what I'm looking for. So yeah, think about naming structure as well, just to give you something else to think about. Don't complicate it too much, because you won't remember later what you did. Yeah, I've done that plenty of times. So anyway, that's what I do. Now, the next question I have was, now Buffer is set up, what is best? Yes, okay. What is best to make a post to my Facebook page, then manually share it from there to my personal profile, or set up Buffer to post the same to both my page and profile, maybe at different times. So you can see the pros and cons for both, and would love to hear. So Facebook, then manually share it from there to my personal profile. All of those things work. What I would stay away from is doing the automatic posting. You know how you can actually set your Facebook up to automatically post to Twitter and automatically post to other social medias, which I actually do have set up, but it's not as good as, say, using Buffer or manually putting it in. Probably the best thing in the world is to manually put things into your different social media feeds, but it's not workable over the long term for anyone trying to create the kind of business and motion that we're all trying to create, because you're one person and you've got so many other things to do. To be manually putting them in at certain times of the day, it's not time effective. So using Buffer or websites of a similar nature, there's Hootsuite and there's a couple of other ones as well that you can use, but Buffer's by far the simplest and the one I prefer to use as a result. So using Buffer is a much better option, I believe, than setting up the automatic things than wasting your time and doing it manually all the time. Now, your question, I think, was related to whether to share it to your profile at different times and things. And so I would say testing. You need to test. So what times work better? In Facebook, there is an area that you can go to. I think it's called Insights. And in there, you can actually see what times of the day and what days of the week your the people who've liked your Facebook page have been more active. So not have they been more active on your page per se, but they're actually just more active in Facebook. So that's a really good place to go and go, oh, okay, I can see that they're much more active on Fridays at 4 o'clock. I'm going to make sure I always put something out at Fridays at 4 o'clock, because then you're more likely to get more eyeballs. Does that make sense? So that's a really simple thing you could do. Actually, if you want, just let me know in the comments, everybody, no matter when you listen to this. If you want, I'll do a quick video to show you how to get into insights in your Facebook page, so that you can actually get an idea of when your particular audience is actually on Facebook. And so when is it a good idea to post on Facebook for your audience? Because if you have an audience that's mostly in America, for example, then their time of the day it might be actually while you're asleep if you're in Australia or some other part of the world. So, if you are manually posting, you're posting at the wrong time. If you understand this, you can go and set those up as times in Buffer and make sure that they go in there at the correct time. And each different social media platform may be slightly different. They don't all provide these fantastic statistics for you to be able to check. So for me, I just use a spread in Buffer, as you may have seen when I've shown my schedule a few times. And I hopefully connect with people like that. And once you've done it, if you're a particularly statistical person, you can go back and look at your results and see by your statistics when people have been more engaged with your content, because that's really what you want. You want more engagement with what you put up. So it's kind of a testing thing. I hope that's answered your question. One thing, I'm not sure whether you're talking about manually sharing it to your personal profile, although you did say manually sharing to your personal profile. It's actually not a bad idea to do that on a regular basis, especially because most of us have family and friends who have similar interests to us. So if I'm into running, okay? So if I put a post up on running, I'm often going to share it with my family and friends, yeah? And sometimes I will share it also with the business people that I hang out with, because it gives me a little bit more depth. I'm not just this person who always talks about online business. I've also got this other life, heaven forbid. So bringing some of that, it works both ways. Maybe that's what I'm saying. It works both ways. So not just the stuff that you always share with your family and friends on your personal profile can also come across over onto business stuff. But it also can work the other way, because again, people are often interested in the things that are going on in your business life, especially if it has, if it's a little interesting, like Frankie's post, for example. I shared that. I've shared everybody's actually, but Frankie's in particular got a little bit of traction because, who doesn't want to make a little bit of extra money before Christmas? So whether anyone actually takes any action on it, that's another thing again. But I did actually share it with my family and friends. And so it would depend on what it is that I've put up. I won't always, but if most of your family and friends are interested in the house sitting, or they're interested in, examining what it is we are, what our lives are about, all that kind of stuff that you're talking about at the moment, Gavin, then maybe that is very appropriate to share with your family and friends. And you certainly get more traction if it's something that resonates with them, because they will like it and leave comments and engage. So, and you could also be asking to share, and not enough people do that. So when you do post something you think is going to be of value to, a majority of people, a lot of people, then that's my pleasure, Frankie. Then, share it with them and say to them, if you think this will help anyone else, I'd love it if you would share it. And especially your family and friends, they're more likely to go, oh, of course, I'll do that for you. That's the least I can do, So, they have a network. When you look at how I think the average person has 400 or something odd friends on Facebook. So if just 2 or 3 people share that, suddenly your reach has grown quite a bit. So I actually am quite good with maths, but I'm not that good at maths. The exponential growth is quite large. So yes, I would, and not talking about using our family and friends, but certainly if I think it will benefit them, or if I think that they will be interested, then I will do that. There's plenty of times when I've shared stuff where it's kind of fallen flat, and I'm like, okay, they weren't that interested in that. etc. Most people don't even know what I do, but anyway, most of my family and friends. But yeah, anyway, so I hope that has been a really long waffling way to answer the question that you had, Gavin, about sharing and buffer and things like that. All right, I'm not sure. I think the delay might be something like 30 seconds. So I hate just sitting here like not speaking for 30 seconds. I'll just have my coffee. All right. I assume that it's gone some way to answering a question. Leave me a comment there, and if it doesn't, I'll come back to it and see if I can clarify a bit more. Oh, yep, all good. Great. 30 seconds later. All right. Now, we had a question about, I think it was Emma, about the buffer extension not working on Chrome. So Gavin made some good suggestions. I did talk to my tech guru, Simon, about the possibilities there, because I might have had the occasional issue over the years, but nothing that's really kind of stopped me. So looking at things like the other extensions and plugins that you have in Chrome could have something to do with it. Like there might be some kind of clash going on. Have a look. There's also, Simon said you could have in your browser JavaScript turned off, because often people do that for safety reasons, security. So just make sure you haven't got that turned off, because it must use JavaScript to work. What's the other thing? I don't think pop-ups, because I think I've got pop-ups. I had to just turn it on last night in order to get something to work. So I must have had pop-ups turned off on my browser. So in that case, it must work whether you've got pop-ups turned on or off, because it is kind of a pop-up that comes up over the top. So I would give all those things. I assume you've turned your browser on and off again to see if that was it. The other thing you can do is try another browser just to see if it's working. That would be the first bunch of things that I would do. I did do a quick Google search too, and I didn't get anything back much, because people don't have much of a problem, which indicates that it could be something sort of simple like that. So I would give some of those little sort of things a bit of a go. Like if it was a common problem, I'd get heaps of feedback from a Google search saying, I've had this problem with buffer and that, because it's very frustrating when you have these technical issues with things that should just work straight away. So give all those things a go, Emma. If you're still stuck, let us know, and we'll see if we can't maybe even do a computer share and have a poke around in your browser and see what's wrong. There might just be something in the extensions and how they're working at the moment. All right, so haven't really been able to resolve that one particularly, but hopefully it will be resolved. All right, now another question from Gavin, I think. So become a question machine, which I love. Awesome. So starting to see how the text we write with our posts can make a big difference. Can you please discuss your experience in writing text to create engagement in what we post? I love these questions. They're about as long as how long is a piece of string? There are many people who spend many years learning. It's called copywriting. You would know that. And a lot of it is based on learning human psychology and why people do what they do, and what engages people, what engages their senses and how they feel about things. I think it is a skill that you can learn. If you do some Googling, how to become a good copywriter or a great copywriter, you'll get lots of blog posts and lots of information, and maybe even some courses on how to do that. And Frankie may even have some ideas, because being a writer, it's quite an important thing to do. But for me, I try very hard to put myself in the place of the person reading it. I just try to develop empathy and understand what makes me do things. So I think I said even in the video comment, the comment on the video that you put in earlier this morning, Gavin, that it's only when when I am engaged to do something that I actually do it often, like especially in our busy life. So we need these things that are impactful. So if you think about when in your surfing, what are the things that are stopping you? What are the things that are stopping you and saying, click me? What's motivating you to take an action that somebody is asking you to take? So is it the image? Is it the way the words have been put there? So it's really about becoming a student of marketing and human nature, if you like. And that means everywhere around us taking note of the thing. Like, even if you're not an active, I don't even watch commercial television at all, really, because, you know, we're in this Netflix era where you just kind of watch what you want to watch when you want to watch, if you watch anything at all. And I listen to ABC radio here in Australia, so there's not a lot of commercial stuff going on. So I don't perhaps get as much commercial stuff being bombarded at me as, say, people who watch commercial television and listen to commercial radio. But I still get plenty of commercial information, you know, standing in the supermarket or just going online in Facebook. Instagram throws ads at me, Twitter throws ads at me, obviously Google throws ads at me. So I'm getting ads all the time still, even though I'm not doing the old-fashioned way, and I don't really read newspapers and things like that much either. So but I'm still getting plenty of examples of how marketers are trying to reach me. And I'm taking note in the back of my head. Occasionally I'll get my phone out and write down a clever heading or something about a heading that you know, triggered something. But I'm really taking note of what makes me take note, what makes me take a second look. And when you do those, especially... we often develop businesses in things that we're interested in areas that we already have some kind of, something where we want to play, something where, you know, we're interested. So I would, we're already surrounding ourselves deliberately with information from those areas. And you'll find that if you can be open to what you're hearing, what you're seeing, and turn on, it's like a marketing muscle. So you just turn it on in your head so that a little alert goes off when you think, oh, I was really drawn to that email that came up in my inbox, you know, and then think, why did I click that email and not delete it like I deleted the 30 before it? What made me? Was it because of the person's name and I knew the person, or it's because something in the title or of the email actually made me click on it? So it's actually, that's to me one of the best ways to learn marketing, is to learn what is affecting you, especially if you are your target market, which is sort of what I was trying to say before. And often we are. So at the moment, Gavin, your particular niche that you're trying to get into, it's because you're going through this stuff and you're trying to work out how it works for you, and you're trying to reach out and hopefully share that journey to help others. I assume that's a good description of that. So therefore, you're actually trying to talk to other people who are sort of in the same spot, maybe one or two steps before you. So you're ahead of them one or two steps. So you're kind of leading the way by, I suppose, what is it? Natalie Sisson uses the word a leading learner, which I think she got from somewhere else. So you're just so you're leading the way. So you are still your target market. So being aware of the things around you in this area, and taking note of what makes you, develop an emotion, click on something, read something, watch a video, all of those things. So I know it's a roundabout sort of way, but marketing itself, you can go to university and do a degree on it, or you can just tap into yourself as the target market and take note of what's happening around you, because there are lots and lots of marketing messages being thrown at us all the time. There are some basics, we could do a whole challenge on the basics of marketing, because there's checklists and things we can come up with, which they work to a degree, but ultimately there's stuff that goes on in here to do with how you're taking marketing in, and then how you can put it out to other people, which will sometimes work, sometimes it won't work. So anyway, I could talk about marketing until the cows come home, but mostly you need to go out and give it a go yourself. And you are doing that now. So I would just keep pushing ahead with what you've been doing, and taking note with what's happening around you. I mean, that's, yeah. And if you really want to get into it, go and Google how to be a great marketer or something like that, or great copywriting skills, that kind of thing. Because you were particularly talking about text, I see. And so I would always be thinking about benefits. One of the big things is when people are looking at this stuff, it's what's in it for me. And as much as we all like to say, I'm not selfish, we actually all are, because that's the way humans are. We are all thinking about ourselves. We're all concerned about what we're going to get out of something. Even when we're trying very hard to give, there's always this, what are we going to get out of it? And especially in the marketing world. So you want people to do something, think about the benefit. So one of the questions, if I'm writing a sales page, I might go, keep answering this question. So what? So from a marketing perspective, if I was trying to come up with a benefit for something, a good example that I've had put to me many years ago was in the car industry. So a feature in a car is something like a seatbelt. Okay, so you can put in your ad for the car, it has 4 seatbelts or 5 seatbelts, whatever. Great. So what? So if you keep asking that word, so what? So eventually what you get is, buy this XYZ car because it has, it will keep you the safest possible, keep your loved ones safe because, we wouldn't want anything to happen to them. Why does it keep them safe? Because of the seatbelt. Because you could keep asking that question over and over again until you get down to the very bones of why people would give a damn about a seatbelt. Ultimately, the only reason, it's not because you don't want to get fined, and it's not because it makes you feel more secure. It's because and why do you hound your children to put them on? Well, it's because it's a safety. You want them to be safe. So there's all that. And then of course, often when I was doing the quilting stuff, it was a big part that I noticed really pushed people over the edge was things like, you should come and learn how to quilt with us, because when you do, all of your family and friends will say how amazing you are because you created this quilt. You see? So it was all about turning it back on them and how amazing they're going to feel when their family and friends say, wow, you did that. That's crazy. So anyway, there's some very simple little tips. Again, we can go into it a lot more, but it's a good point, and it is something that people need to understand. Because if you can't get people to see the benefit of your product, service, blog post or whatever, it'll just sit there quietly all by itself. Nobody will read it, and we don't want that. So yes, which is, it's why we're doing this challenge, so you can create content to attract more people, different people in different ways, with different kinds of modalities, and create emotional responses and that kind of stuff. So awesome. Now, I hope that's answered your question. And again, another bit of a ramble probably. Moving on. Let me see. I have had an idea to run this challenge again. For me, I'd actually like to, at the moment, I don't know if I'm up to it, but I am thinking I could run it for 2 weeks of every month. So we could do the same thing. So what that would mean is that all of us would have to write a blog post once a month. That would force you to actually get a blog post out of yourself and actually get it up and create this massive, fantastic foundation for your business. So Frankie wants you to run it again. Yes. Obviously, I've already created a lot of the video content, so that'll take a bit of the pressure off me. So just turning up every day, that's good. That's actually good for me because it gets me started for the day, for my work. But anyway, so I just wanted to put it out there to see if you're all interested, and whether you think once a month, like it's basically half of your, it's half of your time. It sort of would be for once a month for 2 weeks. So whereas 1 week would be to write a blog post, and 1 week would be to create content. So that at the end of a month, you will have written at least 1 blog post and have a whole bunch of content, and then you can be shooting it out everywhere for the rest of the month or whatever. Anyway, or you could create another piece of content all by yourself, another blog post. So let me know what you think. If you've got any ideas how we could run it better, or how, because this is just the first time, so there's obviously going to be lots of things that we could do better, and lots of ways that would be more engaging, and lots of ways that would help you more. That would be really cool. I'd love to hear that. So feedback, lots of feedback. Please just chuck it in the comments in this video whenever you watch it. I love it, especially if you want it. If you don't want it, then, oh, okay. Frankie and I'll do it. Anyway, now, then I wanted to make sure that you are going to enter. So on the weekend, I will be away running a marathon. So I won't be checking in so much, although I've already got a couple of posts set up to go and see you, to pop up in Facebook. So it'll appear that I'm there, but I'll be actually sweating my butt off. Excuse my language. So I need you to enter the competition. So sometime over the weekend, hopefully by the end of Sunday, I think I've set, I'd like you to go to the resources page to the very bottom and to enter the competition, and the details are there. And then by Wednesday, I will announce the winner, who will win a copy of my digital product course and a couple of hours with me, if you don't get enough already, where I can just work with you one-on-one to see if we can get you a little bit further along from where you are now. So that's pretty cool. I hope you're excited about that. Now tomorrow, because I'm catching a plane tomorrow to go to this marathon, which is not where I live, but over the water, on what we call in Australia the mainland. So, because I live on an island at the bottom of Australia, so it's going to be on the mainland of Australia. So anyway, I'll be leaving home a little bit earlier, so I'm going to actually be in the car driving at the 8 o'clock mark. So I think I'm going to move tomorrow's call, which is the last official call for the fortnight, for the 2 weeks, because it will have been 14 days. Yay, congratulations. I'm very excited. Tomorrow. So I'm going to move it to 9 o'clock, move it out 1 hour, so it'll be an hour later, and I'll be somewhere. I won't be here though, because I'll be on my way to the airport. We've got a couple of hours though in town, or in Launceston, in the city. So maybe I'll be in a cafe or at my daughter's house or somewhere, my older daughter. So I'll let you know anyway. You won't need to know where I am, but I will tell you when I've decided. But I will put up the change of time in the Facebook group. Hopefully that won't interrupt any of you too much, and maybe we can get a couple more people along too to celebrate the last live one for this challenge. Hopefully not the last challenge though, because it's been lots of fun and I think really helpful for all of us, not just me. All right, so if you have any questions, let me know. I will have another drink of my coffee. Otherwise I'll go, because I have another meeting in a minute. It's getting all a little bit crazy. All those things, you know, when you have something to do at the end of the week and everything kind of runs into each other, because you're trying to do everything at once. You squish over a week. That's my pleasure, Gavin. I hope it's helped, my rambling rants. All right, some coffee. Okay, so I will go finish a few more pieces of content. You've got another really 2 full days to get lots and lots of content done. If you're in America, a little bit longer. I will see you tomorrow, same place, but 1 hour later. Thank you for being here. You're all rock. Well done. Bye.